Hey y'all, welcome to Red Bellies and River Rats. Today I'm going to show you how to build a simple and efficient alcohol stove that I designed. Now, there are tons of designs out there on the internet and I've built them all, but I wanted to design something of my own and I gave myself a few criteria. Number one, it must have a built-in pot holder, similar to the Fancy Feast stove, also known as the cat can stove, or the aluminum bottle stove or the bottle can stove. They have the built-in pot stand so that you can light it, then you set the pot right on top of the stove. Number two, I wanted to be able to make it from a single can. Number three, because I can't make a three. Number three, no glue, no adhesives. So this is what I came up with. You'll see it's double walled, very similar to the bottle can stove or some of the other stoves you've seen out there. One can. You can find a can laying in a ditch somewhere and turn it into this. This requires a trip to the hardware store. When we're done building the stove, I'm gonna test it along with some previously built stoves with some slight variations to give you an idea of what kind of performance ranges you can expect if you decide to build the stove for yourself. Even if you end up having to buy the razor knife, having to buy a pair of pliers, you can build this stove for like 10 bucks. All right, speaking of the razor knife, let's go over the tools required. First, razor knife, simple pair of pliers. I found this style of pliers actually works the best. Needle nose pliers will work, but they don't work as well as this. Something to punch a hole with. I like to use a thumbtack, a small nail, which can be hard on your fingers, a drill bit. In my case today, I'm using this awl that's for jewelry making. Pair of scissors, they're not absolutely required. Anything you use these scissors for, you could use a knife or that razor blade for, but there are parts of this that are easier with a pair of scissors. This block, 2 inches by 2 inches, and it's 7/8 of an inch tall. Last but not least, I recommend putting on a pair of gloves. I'm gonna walk you through how to build it step by step, but first, I gotta drink this Coke because I don't have any empty cans around and I need something to work with. We'll be right back. All right, time to get started. So step one, we're gonna use this razor knife to score a line exactly 2 inches from the bottom of the can. We do that by holding this 2-inch block, or holding the blade down on the 2-inch block. You press the can against the blade and rotate. All right, I think we're good there. Step number two, you do the same thing, except instead of 2 inches from the bottom, you score a line 7/8 of an inch from the top of the can. Do the same thing. Once you've scored the lines adequately, you should be able to just kind of flex it back and forth a little bit and start to notice it's tearing through. Kind of wiggle it back and forth a little bit and it should tear right along that line that we just scored. Once you get close to the end, I found that fold it up, break that last little strand that way. You end up with a little bit cleaner cut. And then do the same thing along this line. Whoop, tore just a little easier than I expected it to. Okay, step number 4. This will be the third cut we've made and the most difficult cut. Look closely. We're going to be running the razor just on the inside of this inner ring from the inside of the top of the can. You score a line around that ring just like we did before, but you don't really have a guide. You don't have anything hard to press against, so you have to be a lot more careful. Okay, so my blade just got stuck. It actually sliced through a little ways. I normally take that as a sign that I have scored enough and it is time to press this lid out. So I just leave it pressing, or I leave it laying flat down on the table. I take my thumbnail. If you look closely, you can see right up there is the place where it punched through. You take your thumbnail and you push right down on that area. Okay, now it's doing it. If you just push down, the metal will separate. Just peel it the rest of the way out. This is the only part of the can we're not going to be using. You can throw that away. All right. The next step, we're going to need the top of the lid flipped back right side up and this middle section of the can. The first thing we do, take your scissors, and I look for a line that's printed on the can, like right here, the nutrition facts. I use that as a guide to cut a nice straight line. And we've left, I'm not sure how well the camera picks it up, but there's a little bit of a groove. Ooh, right in that area. You're going to rest this ring inside that groove. And make sure it's seated down inside that groove all the way around. Once you've got it there, held firmly in place, take a pair of scissors where the overlap is, and cut a little snip. Anywhere from 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch is fine. You don't want to go much more than that. All right. So where I cut the slit, I fold them back like little dog ears. Come to the opposite side, same thing. Now you can put more vents on this inner ring if you want to. I sometimes put 3 or 4, but I have found that 2 good sized vents work plenty well. All right, next step. You take the inner ring, put it back inside that little groove that we used to measure it with earlier. All right, it's not resting down in there perfectly, but that's okay. We can work on that as we're pressing it together. So next step, you take the bottom half of the can, flip it upside down, and press it down onto the top ring. Now that gets it most of the way, but you've got about another 1/8 of an inch to go, and you got to push that by hand. This is another one of those steps that without gloves is very dangerous. So as you're pushing down, make sure that that inner ring hasn't come out of position. Make sure that when you push it down, it seats inside that groove we were talking about earlier. I accidentally pushed one side in a little too far, and now I'm trying to kind of pull it back out with my thumb to try to make sure it's seated evenly all the way around. And that feels pretty solid. I think we're there. At this point, you've probably had the same thing happen to you that I just had happen to me. You get this little wrinkle. That's fine. I'll show you how to get rid of that. It's really simple. Take a pair of pliers with a nice flat set of jaws. Start at the base of the wrinkle, mash it flat. Come up a little higher, mash it flat. Now, if it's not staying seated down perfectly at this point, that's still fine. We're going to roll this edge. Once we do that, it's going to look good. You won't even be able to see the imperfection in it. To roll the edge, I take my pliers and I push them until I hit that inner layer of aluminum, and I stop right there, and then I just fold the can up till I hit the pliers. Let go, move over about a 1/2 inch, same thing. And you just repeat that all the way around the can. Now at this point, you still don't have what I would call a rolled edge. You have to finish it with your fingers. So everywhere there's a high point, here, 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 mash it down about halfway until you've made your way all the way around the can. What you're doing here, you're putting a crease in the can exactly where you want that crease to be. If you try to roll the edge, starting at one point and then work your way around, all of your excess material is going to work its way into that last fold, and you're going to end up with a little bump. So you have to work each side down slowly, just a little bit at a time, and that distributes your air more evenly throughout the can. And once you've got that nice crease where you want your fold to be, then you can start pressing it a little more firmly. I'm not sure what happened right here. It didn't fold over just right, but that's okay. A little bit of imperfection is just fine. Now at this point, we've got a pretty decent rolled edge there. But if you want to put that last little final touch on it, make sure to draw your knife all the way back in. I take the butt end of it, I mash it down and kind of rotate the can and push down. That helps smooth out any of the wrinkles that were left. All right, we're almost done. One more step. So at this point, I've taken my gloves off. All of the sharp edges have been rolled over, or they're down inside the stove where I'm not likely to accidentally cut myself on it. So I start with this strip of paper. It's exactly 3/4 of an inch wide, and I've marked a mark every 7/8 of an inch. Got a little piece of tape on the end to help secure it to the can. Now I'm using an awl here. You can use a thumbtack, a drill bit, a nail, whatever. What you need to be careful about is you don't want to puncture this inner wall. You want to go through the outer shell only. So be gentle, take your time. Now, if you're using a thumbtack, you probably got slightly bigger holes than this. From my experience, I need to bore these holes out just a little bit more, or else the flames won't get hot enough to sustain a boil inside the stove, and it won't function properly. Just kind of notice I'm making sure to point the end of the awl down towards the bottom of the can. This helps ensure that I don't accidentally poke through that inner wall. I'm kidding, it wasn't that bad, but I just did kind of stab myself a little bit. Maybe I should still be wearing gloves. What y'all think? Look, I just scratched right down the side of my can. I don't think I heard it, but goodness. Okay, I'm going to finish boring out these holes. We'll be back in a second. Okay, and there you have it. All right, so I'm going to do a burn test real quick. This is a stove I made a few days ago. The exact same thing I just made, with the difference of these holes are a full inch from the top instead of 3/4 of an inch. This is the stove. I've made too many stoves. This is the stove we just made. We're going to test this one. It's got the 3/4 inch spacing. We're going to see what kind of burn time we get from each and how quickly each of these will boil 2 cups of water. So I don't have 2 of the same cook pot. I have the Stanley 2-cup in here and a Esbit cook pot. The Stanley is stainless steel. The Esbit is aluminum. They're different sizes, different shapes. So I expect to get different results even if I were to use each of these pots on the same stove. So I'm going to do one pot on one stove, the other on the other, and then I'm going to do the same test, switch, vice versa. That way we have results for both stoves with both cook pots. By the way, I don't know if you noticed my custom handmade stuff sacks for these cook pots. Most cook pots don't come with a stuff sack, and I don't know why not, other than maybe they're cheap. Made these myself. I actually knit them. You see the pretty little pattern on the bottom? I'm kidding. I have no idea how to knit. Never knitted in my life. These are actually crocheted. Y'all think I should learn how to knit? Am I missing out on something? Different video, different video. I'm going to finish this stove. here are the results. With the 3/4 inch spacing, we got a bloom time of about 45 seconds, a boil time of 8 minutes and 30 seconds, and a total cook time of 11 minutes. Now, these are average and they're all rounded to the nearest half minute. The 1-inch spacing had a bloom time of 40 seconds. Now, that was consistent with each test. It bloomed about 5 seconds before the other one. It came to a full boil in an average of 6 minutes and a total cook time of 7 minutes. So yeah, it does boil faster, but if you need it to boil for more than a minute, you're gonna have to add more fuel or use a different stove. In my opinion, that's not bad for a stove that you could build out of a single can out on a trail with nothing but a pocket knife if you had to. Now, if you're the kind of person that really enjoys watching YouTube videos of people making alcohol stoves, well, first, let me say congratulations. In my opinion, that makes you exceptional. Hit that like and subscribe button. Now, for me, it's cool today because we've got some nasty weather coming, not because it's fall. I expect when this weather moves through, it's going to get back up into the mid and upper 90s for a few more days or another couple of weeks. Finally cool off near the end of September. But depending on where you live, it's September, y'all. It's fall. Get out and enjoy that weather. It's finally cooling off. Thank God. This summer has been brutal. Like and subscribe. See you later.
With our paddles in hand, we navigate the streams, campfire stories and moonlit dreams, rocking down the rivers, watching the waters flow.